Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of Epic Mind Visions. I'm stoked to have my good friend Matt Worthington on the show. Matt and I met about maybe a year and a half ago, I guess, through an event that he hosts through the Riser Network. Now, Matt is a community builder, and I see him focusing out so much. I had such an amazing time at the event, and then he happened to be having a dinner the next night. He invited me to the dinner. I showed up. There were like 8 or 10 just amazing people from the community and just set such a fantastic intention for the evening. Everybody connected and learned more about each other. And just, again, that community building is so important these days. And Matt is leading the charge based here in Austin, Texas. I just have so much respect for everything that he's doing, and I can't wait to talk about more of what he has going on in his life and what he's projecting into the world. Matt, welcome to the podcast.
Jeff, hell of an intro. Thank you so much. Great to see you. Excited to be here and pumped for this incredible conversation about to come.
Awesome. Well, I think the great place to start here is really with Riser Network. Like, how did that come about? I think when I came to the event and dinner, it was kind of maybe in the earlier stages of Riser. And I mean, it was a highbrow, lowbrow, amazing event, well produced and coordinated. And just, how did that come about? What was the intention behind it? And yeah, where is it now? What's going on with that?
Yeah, so I graduated college back in 2019, and a focus of mine after graduating from school was to be surrounded by killers. I wanted to be around the movers and shakers of Austin, but I wasn't getting invited to those rooms. So I figured if I'm not getting invited, why not just create that room myself? And I put together a flyer in Canva and I titled it Austin's Most Successful Under 30. And I wasn't one of Austin's most successful under 30, but it was a way to get people in the room. And I posted out on social media, and there was 12 people at that first event. But even though there was 12 people and not 200 people, there was magic in the room. And I strongly, strongly felt intuitively that this was something that I should dive into further because it could help more people and connect those that were like-minded and wanted to, one, help each other grow, but also just make an impact in the community. So I threw another one, and that one had 30 people, and then another one, and that one had 60. And at that third event, I had a good friend, Christian Smith, who's now my business partner, who said, "Hey, there's something here. Let's turn this into a brand and push it out to all of Austin." And that's when the name Riser came to be. And from there, we just continued to grow organically. And now our events have 350, 400 people at them. I think the um, one quarter ago had 486 signups. So we're getting closer to 500. And it just continues to grow and bring in the right people that we like to say are very thoughtful, brilliant, and kind.
That's amazing, man. What an amazing story and trajectory. And like you said, there was magic in the room. And I think there is so much magic in community. And I see that. And just building connection in general. I've been really fortunate here in Austin since I moved here about 4 years ago to be involved with multiple different communities, and they all kind of seem to have some overlap, and I think that's how I got dialed into Riser Network as someone from another community recommended the event. And that's amazing. I know the event that I went to, again, my perception is that was a little bit earlier on the journey, but there were, I don't know, there were probably, I know there were over 100 people there, probably 150 or so. So I got in not at the ground floor, but a little bit beyond that. But that's amazing to hear that it's almost up to 500 people at an event. What has that been like learning how to not only create community, but to host events with hundreds of people? And I'm sure that the venues change and the logistics change and all of that. What's that been like as far as like just the community aspect of it?
Yeah, I think it's been a blast for us for a couple different reasons, but one thing is realizing that in order to be successful in anything, oftentimes you have to think outside of the box do something a little different. So with our events, we do throw networking events. And what we like to say is we're a networking event company unlike any other. So it's not your top button suit and tie, name tag, champagne glass sort of event. We have DJs, we have speakers, magicians, comedians, vendors, food, drinks. It really is a party, or at least that's what it feels like. And that's important for us because we went to a lot of networking events ourselves that we just got so bored at, and they just weren't fun and they weren't exciting. And so we were trying to figure out a way that we could pivot slightly and make it a little bit more interesting than the common networking events that people go to in Austin. And that's been one of the biggest takeaways for us. Outside of that, I would say it's just whenever you have a good heart and good intention behind what you're trying to build, the right people show up. And
Yeah.
if you create the space, they'll define the outcome of the evening. And so we've continued just to create a space of openness, of love, of understanding, of passion, of excitement, enthusiasm. And that's brought people in and made them feel the same way, not just at the event, but about their own business as well. And then these entrepreneurs connect and then they leave back out into the world energized and enthused to go out, make an impact, and really truly just touch the lives of others, not just in Austin, but across the country.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, we do know that Austin is a hotspot for amazing people, right? So helping bring them together is a great intention to set into the world. And there's so many amazing, events and networking opportunities here at South by Southwest, and some other events that go on monthly or quarterly or regularly. And people have options. So. I think dialing into a specific audience like you did, it's like, the under 30. I don't fit in that category, but I was accepted as if, I act under 30. So for the most part, so, I was accepted into the community and love connecting with the people there. And I made multiple connections at that first event who I still am in contact with. And that's amazing. The ripple effect, I think, of what you're doing. And I know it's not easy. We run mastermind events for our coaching program, smaller, but usually at a remote location and rent a venue and like all these things. And the logistics aren't easy. So it's like you're going out of your way and sacrificing your time and energy. I guess it's not really a sacrifice because it's kind of like an investment in what you're building for the community and for your own network. Like you said, you wanted a certain crowd around you, you wanted a certain, level of community around you, and you weren't getting invited to those parties. So you just created on your own. I mean, that's amazing. It shows that entrepreneurial, kind of mindset that you have and, the courage to take the risk and put yourself out there and say, this is what I want to create. And I'm going to create that right now. And you did. And that's so awesome.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's been an absolute blast, and I've met just incredible, incredible people, and I've learned so much too. And I think whenever we in our lives surround ourselves with the same people over and over, the same family members, the same friends, the same coworkers, we end up in an echo chamber with the same thoughts, with the same ideas, with the same beliefs. And until we go out and venture out and meet other people and get surrounded in new communities, we never really get the opportunity to battle test our ideas, our theories, and really have feedback as to are the things that I think and the things that I feel and the things that I believe truly the right helping me in the world or helping me whenever I am around other people. And I think it's important that we grow and we surround ourselves with new people and new ideas in order to form and reshape the ones that we have ourselves.
Yeah, of course. And being able to have the, I guess, emotional intelligence and maturity to have that reflected back to us of what's working, what's not, what are the stories I'm telling myself, and what are the
Mm.
patterns that I'm running, and see how other people approach life, and just be open to the conversation or to the exploration of what's possible. And I know if I had done that when I were under 30, my life would be different, but I wasn't. I was hyper judgmental of myself and the world around me, and fairly closed off and not social, certainly not creating a community of people rising, which, is what it is. And it's like, I kind of look at it like, well, I appreciate it now a lot more that I've gotten to the other side of it, because I've seen the duality of it and seen, how lone wolfing it and, you know, struggling really to create something on my own and having those deals gone wrong, relationships go south, like all of those things because I didn't have, I wasn't I wasn't tuned into the opportunity, ask for support, to tune into the genius of the community, the genius of other people's skill sets to bring them in a powerful way, make those powerful connections and have everybody, come up together, if you will. So for me, at least being in the position that I'm in now and being deeply involved in multiple communities and seeing the value of it and just the joy of connection and, creating something together with others, it's just, it's really amazing to have seen both sides of it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head right there. Rising tides raise all ships. So being around
Right.
others um, who elevate you is not just important, but I think a necessity. I think we should be doing that as humans, is constantly striving to be around other people who help us grow, help us think outside of the box, and just overall become a better human.
Well, I know that the brain science and neuroscience and all that shows that we're wired for connection.
Mm.
And if we're not able to create that level of connection, there's some level of, sort of instability or cognitive dissonance that is naturally going to occur. And, you know, as much as we can say, well, social media is a time suck and all of these things, I mean, the opportunity to connect with so many people these days is second. It's never been that way, right? To
Mm.
identify people who have your specific interest sets and all of that. It doesn't matter what you're interested in or what you're doing, you can find a community of people who are doing it generally. So it
100%.
wasn't always that way. It's like where I grew up in small town Texas, it was like it was very closed off, homogenous thinking and all of that. So it
Yeah.
wasn't something that I felt was super expansive to me. And even though I had an amazing childhood, I grew up in nature and running around in the creek beds and, around animals and things like that. I have a lot of a gratitude and appreciation for that side of it, but it was very limited in the scope of people's thinking, and we didn't have a lot of outside ideas. It's pre-internet and all of that. So I really have a lot of gratitude for social media and the internet, and, different things like that. And like you're doing, you're leveraging that side of it. You're leveraging the kind of social media aspect of it to promote your events and bring people together, IRL, so that they can build actual connections, real relationships, and create, well, magic together, right? So I think that that's like getting the best of both worlds in a sense.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer on the idea what you focus on, you win at. And
Right.
that's just the reticular activating system. It's the red car theory. If you're driving to work and you're looking for red cars, you'll see them. If you're driving to work not looking for red cars, you probably won't see one, right? So it's the same thing with people. If you're looking for good people to surround yourself by, you're going to find those people. And I think that's what we've always done at Risers. We just continue to strive to find good people to come to our events, to surround ourselves by, so that we can all elevate and grow together.
I know that in the early well, when I went, I'd say early days, I keep framing it that way because that was my perception. I could be completely off base, but you had a spreadsheet that you shared with everybody who went to the dinner. And it was kind of like, who are you? What do you do? What are you looking for? What can you give? kind of thing, and
Mhm.
it created this opportunity for to create a community that could lift each other up. Like you said, the rising tide lifts all ships.
Mm.
How is that working out? Is it that still in play? Have you expanded upon that idea of really creating this network of people that are helping each other and giving them the opportunity to tap into their needs and what they have to offer and do that?
Yeah, great question. So, an extension of Riser's Reveal, and Reveal is what we title our dinners. And the dinners
Okay,
are these
gotcha.
private 8 to 12 person events that we host at a private residence. We've since transitioned from my home south of Austin to Leo's house in downtown Austin. And what we've actually also done is we've pivoted, and instead of having it be all male business owners, entrepreneurs, next level thinkers, creators, we have co-ed dinners. So, and we've scaled down. I said 12, but what we do now is we have 8 guests. Excuse me, we have 8 total. So it's Leo and I sitting at the head of the table. Then we have uh, four females and 2 males, in addition to Leo and I, which makes 8 total.
Right.
The Excel sheet was a super powerful tool in connecting everyone, keeping their wants, needs, and desires, and also their profession and the industry that they worked in very organized. But what we do now is what we find is even more effective is just continuing to share information within the group chat that we make for that particular evening. Because what
Okay.
we found is if we have a massive group chat in WhatsApp, for example, or Telegram with 250, 300, 400 people who've come to our private dinners, what you'll find is Jessica, who's gone to one dinner 12 months ago, doesn't know Jeff, who went to a dinner 1 week ago, and trying to create a connection between the two where it's still intimate is very difficult. So what we do is we just continue to keep each of these guests in this container of 8 people, which is the group chat that we make, and it allows them to really form a closer bond than having 250, 300 people all in one chat. But that's a remarkable memory you have. That Excel sheet was something that was utilized at the time. It's funny you bring it up because I forgot we even did that. Uh, and then going back to an earlier sentiment you made, yes, it was early on. You were early in the evolution of what Rise and Reveal has become up to this point. And I'm just honored that you were a part of our growth early on and are still keeping us in mind and keeping me in mind and inviting me on this podcast to talk about what we're still continuing to build. So thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's a testament to being a community leader, being a connector. I've always had, I guess, certainly a lot of respect, but I, you know, I've seen the power of being that hub, and creating this dynamic around around you, around one with the kinds of people that you want to be around and that you aspire to be more like or to be more connected to, right? And we've done that in our own way, myself and my business partner in the digital marketing space. But what you've done is like created this dynamic of a more general approach. It's like, people doing big things who are under 30 or however you frame that. It's like that's a lot more broad than just like our community is focused on a very small sliver of the internet, and
Mhm.
my business partner and I are known in a very small sliver of the internet, whereas you're in like Austin based, you have this broader focus with business people and entrepreneurs and in a certain age group generally, although you let others in, it's just kind of a general intention. It's not a hard boundary or anything like that. So, creating that level of connection with that many, people who have like-minded people, I think is so powerful. And I'm interested to hear kind of like how does that play out with the opportunities that you get? You told me that you've been on, multiple podcasts and different things like that. as you've built this to where it is now, Riser and Reveal, where is it going? Like what is it? How has it played out as far as like you, the opportunities in your life, like what you see possible for yourself, and that what we say here is the epic mind vision that you have for this, and where do you go from here, man?
So with Riser, I'll start there and then we'll pivot into Reveal. I think for Christian, myself, and Zach, so there's three of us who are kind of the heads of what Riser is at the moment. The three of us, we have two focuses. One, of course, on vision and what's to come, but the second one is what we can do right now and what impact we can have current day. So I'll start with that, and that is if we can pour into the small businesses and the dreamers that live in Austin so that they can continue to live out their dream and continue to grow their business, that's a win for us because we were once those dreamers. We were once those kids trying to start what Riser is now. And if we didn't have people that believed in us and poured into us at that time, we wouldn't be where we are at. So that's super important for us. That's at the core of our mission. We just want to bring in as many entrepreneurs, business owners, creators, influencers as possible, and just encourage them to keep going. That's very important to us. In terms of what the vision is, we want Riser not just to be an Austin thing. We want to knock Austin out of the park, and we want people in Austin to know who Riser is, but we want there to be a buzz, not just here, but across the country. So the idea is to have hubs all across the country in major cities such as Miami, LA, San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Boston. And the transition to getting there is one that's not a seamless and easy one. We really, really have to make sure our foundation is laid here before we go and extend into other markets. So right now, we're just trying to make sure that we have all the systems and structure in place in Austin before moving into other places. But long term, that's the goal, that's the dream. We want Riser to be a nationwide, not movement, but nationwide organization and community where business owners can connect across the country to help elevate their being, their revenue, and just their impact. And that's truly the goal for Riser. In terms of Reveal, it's actually an opposite goal of Riser. Instead of growing and having as many people across the country in this network, we want it to be very intimate and small. And I think there's beauty in both. There's beauty in being around a lot of people, but there's also beauty in being around a small number of people of what you could call a tribe. Native Americans were in tribes and they saw the same
Sure.
faces and the same people every day, and that really allowed them to forge these really beautiful, meaningful friendships and truly become family. And we want to have a family here in Austin where it can encourage very meaningful connection and deep conversation at our dinners that have an impact on people that extends well beyond that 4 hours where they sit down across from each other and share a meal. And so I like the balance between both, the big and the small. It's a little bit of a dance, it's a little bit of a play of polarity. And keeping both ends of the spectrum keeps it exciting for me and allows me to fill both cups um, in the process.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, making an impact in giving people the opportunity to connect at another level, like you said, in tribe. Yeah, we've mentioned the word community here multiple times, but it really does boil down to tribe. And I think tribe brings it to another depth of relation when, like you said, in native cultures and everything, when they have contact with each other on a regular basis and all that, there's a level, I think, of accountability and responsibility that's taken that is not just like in a general community setting where you show up once in a while when there's an event once a month or however often they are, and you make a couple connections. Maybe you're taking, right? It's like, well, I'm just going to go and see if I can make some connections and then move away or whatever. But especially like with Reveal, I think in the smaller contexts, like you said, you're playing this duality and the polarity of it. Like when we get into those smaller tribal kinds of connections, there is a certain level of, I think, innate responsibility that's taken and accountability to our actions. And like I keep saying, I think community is so important these days with the everything that everybody's been through in the last few years and being completely broken apart. So many people were split from their families or the friend group that they maybe have had, and I kind of saw that as that phased out and things opened back up again. We all, most of us, I think, had the opportunity to kind of choose, okay, well, if I want to be back in connection and community. What community do I want? What kinds of connections do I want? Because I have an opportunity to kind of press the reset button here, and I did that to a great degree. I would go to events when I lived in California before I moved back to Texas, and but I wasn't as involved in community, and I think Austin's special because there are many communities here, and I see other cities like Houston, San Antonio, maybe Dallas. There are some there, but it's not the same vibe. It's like it seems like Austin is just hungry for community, hungry for that tribal responsibility and accountability that I'm hinting at or getting at. But in other cities, I don't know what that demand looks like. Like, how have you kind of tested the waters with any events in other cities? Like, what do you feel is possible in some of those other cities that maybe aren't as at the forefront of community as Austin?
So we've had conversation with people in Boston, in
Okay.
Charlotte, North Carolina, and
Mm,
in Tampa, Florida. And those are three places where we're gonna battle test this a little bit before moving into these cities. And who knows, maybe that's not the direction we go. Maybe we just focus on Austin and then create maybe a huge conference here and that's the direction we go. And instead
mm,
of branching off into other markets and other cities, we just double down on Austin and just um instead of having 500-person events, we have 5,000-person events. So that's an
right.
option too. And the beauty of this is we are we are giving ourselves permission to fail. We're giving ourselves permission to fail. And giving yourself permission to do that takes off the pressure a little bit because if you fail, then hey, guess what? You get back up, you pivot, and you try something new. You fail again, you get
As
back up,
always,
you pivot, and try something new. So
that's
we
entrepreneurship in a nutshell right there.
that's it, man. And we have the foresight to know that failure is inevitable, and we're not naive thinking that everything we try is going to work. And so, to answer your question, we are going to try and throw a smaller scale event in some of those other cities with like ambassadors is what we're
Right.
calling them right now that are helping us and are eager to try and build community of their own just with our brand and our name. And depending on how that goes is really going to be the deciding factor as to if that is the direction we're going to try to focus our time and energy into in the coming months and the coming year. However, we're open to ideas, we're open to other opportunities, and right now we're just being patient with ourselves and trusting that everything we try, even if it doesn't work out, is going to lead us into something that is going to be what we do for the next 20, 30 years. If it isn't already what we're doing right now, because we enjoy it and we're having a good time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, there's a quote by Winston Churchill: "Success is moving from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm." So
That's
here we
it, dude.
are. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Spot on, man. That's it.
Well, moving on from Riser, you on your social media have started within the last few months focusing out and giving so much to the community around you. The not well, maybe they're entrepreneurs, but probably not your target audience for your events.
Mm.
And you're going out and challenging people to step up and be grateful and to teaching them in the moment how to focus out.
Mm.
And I follow that because it makes me emotional when I see that because it's so needed in this world, right? And most people don't take the initiative to go and do something as I want to say as simple. These things are simple, but maybe they're not easy. Maybe they are easy. I want to hear it from you. But you're being the change that you want to see in the world. And you match this up with like Riser and Reveal and these other things that you're doing just I want to say on a daily basis, but what I from what I can tell fairly frequently. And man, you're creating an amazing life for yourself. And you're focusing out on those around you and you're making an impact and all of the things that are really the most important things that we could do. It's like, how do we transform the world around us to be more giving, more loving, more grateful, and all of these things? It's like, that's one of the things that attracted me to invite you onto this podcast to talk about it. It's like, you are being the change. You are that living example for the people around you. Whatever size your audience is, doesn't matter, right? You change one person in one day and it's all worth it, right? But I'd like to hear from you, like in your own words, like what's going on there? Because I've seen other people on social doing some similar things, and I'm like, wow, like that would be amazing to do that. But did I actually go do it? No, I didn't go do it. Matt did. So like what's that all about? Can you give us a little bit of a rundown of where that came from, what is actually happening there and what your intention and is behind it?
There's two people in this world who I admire and appreciate and respect more than anybody else, and that's my dad and my grandfather. Um, both of which were the most giving people that I've ever met, but in different ways. So my dad was the most loving, supportive, and present person in my life growing up, and always was just incredibly careless. And my grandfather was incredibly giving in another fashion, and I'll explain that here in just a moment. But both of them growing up were my heroes. Whenever we did the class projects and the age old question of who do you want to be when you grow up was asked, I never wanted to be the firefighter or the doctor or the professional football player. I always said that I wanted to be my dad. I always said I wanted to be my grandpa. Those were my heroes. One of my
That's
favorite
awesome.
stories growing up, thank you, is when my grandfather passed away. My dad and his brothers and sister went to his house, his trailer home that he lived in at the time, and started giving away some of his furniture, some of the possessions, his belongings, was selling them off in a yard sale, right? A estate sale, rather. And my dad found this book inside of my grandpa's house. My grandpa's name was Lloyd. They called him Papa Lloyd. And inside of this book of Papa Lloyd's contacts were a bunch of names, phone numbers, and emails. My dad thought, I bet, what is this? I'm just going to toss it. But something intuitively told him, just hold on to this book and call these numbers next week, right? So they get through the weekend of selling off all the furniture. And the next week, my dad sits down and he starts calling the names that were inside of the book, the phone numbers. He just started calling them down the list one by one. My grandpa had been sober for 30, 35 years. And there was a point in time where he had halfway houses in California and he was helping drunks get back up on their feet, helping them get a chance at life, a second chance at life. And each one of those phone numbers that my dad called was somebody that my grandpa had helped during that time. And I remember hearing this story growing up and was so touched by the idea that one man could have so much impact on people's lives. He could have literally touched so many lives throughout his life. And for me, that was just, it felt like he was larger than life. And I didn't realize one person could truly help so many people during a short period of time that we call life. And so hearing that story growing up and having had just an incredible father and parents in general, right? But just like a person who loved me so much made me really passionate about the idea of trying to make everybody else feel just an ounce of the way that my dad made me feel growing up. And I'm just so grateful that I had the parents that I had and I had the childhood that I had. And it just excites me to be able to give and pour into other people to try to make an impact on their lives as well.
Wow, that's an amazing story. That's an amazing origin for, how you're expressing in the world now. I don't know how old you are, how long ago you graduated from college. What was your degree in? What'd you get your degree in? Some business thing, probably.
Yeah, yeah, in business. It was business marketing slash management. I went back and forth. I don't even know which one I ended up graduating in. I just know I got my degree and I'm doing okay now. So it all worked
Yeah,
out.
yeah, right. It doesn't really matter. Nobody's
Yeah.
asking for your transcript at the moment. So,
Exactly.
so that must have made a massive impact and been, you know, really a guiding like North Star of, what you've created now, because I see that so much in just and I only know a small sliver of what you're doing actually, but it seems like from what I see on the front facing social and all these different things that I know about you, it's like that story makes sense. It's like that was probably sounds to be like it was so impactful on you that it speaks to everything that you do now, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah, 100%. And there's layers to it too, Jeff. There's been times in my life where I've been unhappy, right?
Sure.
I've felt less than, I've felt unlovable. I've felt like people maybe didn't understand me or understand my pain, or I was going through things that other people weren't going through themselves. And
Hmm.
so that plays into just wanting to see people light up and wanting to see people smile and wanting to see people just happy because I've been in places in my life where I didn't feel that way. And as I get older, I realize we're more alike than we are different. And
Yeah.
we all feel the same things, the same feelings, the same hurt, the same pain, the same insecurities. And so knowing that, I think as any human would come to agree that it's important for us to have that empathy and have that compassion for one another, knowing that we feel some of those like really negative thoughts at times. And so it's important for me just to try and leave the place and leave other people better than how I found it. Because in some of those darker moments in my life, when there were people that came along and shot me a smile or checked in on me, it made a huge impact. It made a difference. So those are great reminders that I look back on and appreciate. So I know other people probably appreciate them too whenever I do nice things for them. So I just try to make more of an effort to do that now.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, for the benefit of the audience who maybe don't follow you on social yet, what is it that you're doing by going out into the community and giving in the moment? Selflessly, yes. Uh, Significantly, yes. But depending on where you are in life, it may not be that big of a deal. Like I've seen you do things that maybe cost you $50 or $100 or something.
Mm.
And if you were buying an experience or you're buying a feeling that that must give you, I'm sure that it's 100 times that value. But can you go into a little bit about like how you come up and what you're doing, how you come up with these ways of giving and what they're doing for you
Yep.
internally or in whatever way?
Yep. So it started back in December of 2023. So this is 8 months ago. I'm in New Orleans, staying in a five-star hotel, eating some of the nicest meals that I've ever had in my life, full trip paid for. And I felt unhappier than I've ever felt in my life. I'm in this incredible, just immaculate hotel, beautiful, beautiful historic hotel. And I'm laying in the bed, just unhappy. I just unhappy. And you would think with all this beauty around, how could you be so unhappy? But I just wasn't in a place in my life where I felt like I was doing anything significant or impactful. I'd built Riser, I had built Reveal, but on a I didn't feel the impact I was making on a personal level because when you show up to the events, there's so many people and they're making all these connections and you kind of have tunnel vision and you're just focused on the event going well, but not on how it's helping people in the moment. So I was trying to figure out a way that I could see the impact directly myself and came up with the idea to do 52 nice things in a year, one nice thing every week for one person so I could truly see them light up in that moment. Well, I started, and granted, we should do nice things every day, right? I just
Right.
I just thought it would be fun to try to actively pursue something weekly to help give me a little bit of momentum so I start feeling good again, I guess, to be transparent. And so I started doing one nice thing a week for my roommates at first, and then some of my family, and then some of my friends, and then some of my coworkers. And it really started to be something I felt called to do, not just on a weekly basis, but something that I wanted to do as a career, as a brand. And so I then started doing 3 nice videos a week, and ideally the goal is to start doing nice videos every day. And so that's the origin of it. And so some of the things that I've done are handing out flowers to retirement communities, handing out ice cream to the homeless, handing out burgers to those in need, handing out whatever it might be, just like trying to pour into the community. And to give you an idea of the vision, right? Epic Mind Visions, where's it going? What do you hope to accomplish? I think about my dream life. What do I want to be doing in my dream life? In my dream life, I want to help people. I want to make people feel good. I want to make people smile, right? Okay, great. But I also want to make money so I can live, make money so I can travel, and make money so that I can take care of the people I love. So I started to think of a way where I could bridge those two things. Where is there a crossover? Okay, if I can continue doing nice things for people and then turn the attention into currency online, the attention of the views of doing nice things for people that help me feel good, light me up, fill my cup, and get enough viewership online, then brands will then pay for more videos to be made. And so that's where the crossover is being able to travel across the country because I love to travel, being able to travel across the country and help people because I love to help people, being able to travel across the country, help people, and get paid while doing it. That sounds like a home run life for me. And so I'm just trying right now to do nice things and continue to do them until they get on my own dime, until they get enough viewership and momentum and attention from the right brands that I would love to partner with that truly feel passionate about helping the community as well, so that we can work together to have more impact. Because I can only do so much with $50, right? But if I'm getting $15,000, hey, that's a whole different ball game. Then we can start buying people cars. We can start paying for people's medical expenses. We can start paying for um, maybe tuition for school, things that truly, truly have major impact on the lives of others. And that's the long term, the vision. That's the epic vision. That's the epic goal. And I'm fired up about it. And understand that it just takes time, it takes persistence, takes consistency, and takes continuing to just be a good freaking person and continue to show up every day with a good attitude and trust that everything else is going to fall into place.
Yeah, man. Well, congratulations on trusting the call and taking the actions that are required and sort of having the intuition of the vision that you want to see brought forth in that realm. And I have a few thoughts here. I remember that now that you mention it in the beginning, you were maybe jogging around Town Lake and giving your friend a bunch of high quality meat and protein because he's on that whatever carnivore thing, whatever it was. It was just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
just surprising people with different things. And so there's that side of it, which is cool. And it's cool to hear the evolution of, how it kind of, moved forward. And now I see you not only giving in the moment to make the impact, but you're giving a choice to people to make an impact. So
Mm.
you'll go, for example, to a store, Walmart or whatever it is, and you'll see a little kid, a boy or a girl, and you'll say, "Hey, would you rather have $50 for yourself, or would you rather give $5 to 10 different people?" And at least from the videos you post, they always say, "I
Right.
want to give $5 to 10 people."
Right.
So can you explain that part of it a little bit? And I mean, that's an amazing choice point that you give them. And kids are so tuned in. They don't need coaching on this, right? They just get
Right.
it because it hasn't been programmed out of them yet, you know?
Yeah. Yep. The part of the goal of doing nice things for other people is to showcase how it feels to give,
Hmm.
but how the person who receives what you're giving them feels also.
Right.
It's a cycle. And sometimes we forget that it really does make a difference. And we forget that sometimes what you lack is what somebody else can give you. And it sounds ironic, but if you're seeking love, if you're seeking validation, if you're seeking acceptance, if you're seeking a smile, sometimes all you got to do is give a smile and someone will give you that smile back. So, in the
Yeah.
same way,
Right.
if you want to just feel seen and validated and super loved in that moment, well, then give that to somebody else. If you can write a handwritten letter that says, "Hey, I see you. I love you. I want you to know you're the most amazing person I've ever met." If you give that to somebody and they read that, you're going to feel energetically that same response that's then going to fill up your cup. So it is fun to do some of those videos where you give the money to the kids and give them the option to keep it or give it away because they end up always giving it away because they don't know any better. They just know that's the right thing
Well,
to
they
do.
do know better, I think, right?
Yes, yes, exactly they know exactly what they're supposed to do. And it's not because they're maybe parents taught them or because they learned it in school. They just know that's what we're supposed to do as humans. Is we're supposed to
Yeah,
connect and
there you go.
help one another and help each other and lift each other up because we're all sharing this human experience together. And at the end of the day, the things that we all need are to be loved, to be seen, to be understood. And there's a bunch of other ones as well, but I think those are the core three. And um, kids just know it intuitively. They know exactly what to do. Um, and it's just so sweet and kind and innocent. And I think those are things that we should aspire to be more like ourselves. In addition to curiosity and in addition to um, just presence and happiness, you know? So it's been a really fun project and thank you for asking me those questions, giving me the chance to reflect on the journey as well.
Yeah, I mean, paying it forward, I think at the end of the day, it's something that when I was younger, I didn't have any awareness of paying it forward. I started hearing this where I think it came from a movie or something, pay it forward or something,
Mhm.
long time ago, and people kind of tuned into that. And it's like go to Starbucks and you buy the person in line's whatever they're buying and then people pay it for like that's cool and it's
Yes,
so
yes,
easy to do,
yes.
but most people don't just do it as a way of being. They're prompted to do it or whatever. And yeah, it's fascinating to see that. But how does that make you feel when you do those things? I mean, not that I've never done anything for anyone, but I haven't had the intention in the way that you have to kind of create this dynamic for people. And I mean, you're doing it, you're getting reps. Like you're like, I'm just 52 weeks in a row, and I know you're probably doing it more than that and all of that now. But like, what is that as far as just like a way of being a resonance in the frequency that you're, emitting and resonating out to the world around you? Like, how does that make you feel, and what are a couple of examples of how that's maybe karmically come back to you in the moment?
Yeah. So I'll give an example I'll give the first example that comes to mind. So this is a few years ago. This hasn't just been within the last 6 months or 8 months. I'll think of one within the last 8 months here in a second as I'm speaking to you about this one. But I remember when I graduated from college, something that was really important to me was giving back to the community college that I went to before the university I then got my bachelor's degree from. The reason I felt passionate about that was because through high school, I didn't think I was the smartest kid. As a matter of fact, I wasn't the smartest kid. I had trouble sitting still, had trouble learning. I felt like I was a little bit slower, a little bit dumber than the other kids. And despite being able to go to a university and getting the grades to go to one of the local universities, it wasn't ever, um, the Ivy League schools or the UTs or the big name schools in the Austin or Texas area, such as Rice, for example. That's another one. And also, I didn't necessarily have the money to pay for university. That's why I went to a community college. So knowing there were other kids that didn't have the opportunity to go to a big university because of their grades or a prestigious university because of their grades or a local university because of financial reasons, I wanted to give a scholarship to other kids at Austin Community College to give them the opportunity to still get an education despite maybe not having the grades to go to a bigger university or the financial means to go to a bigger university. And so I gave away a scholarship of I think it was $6,000 during the school year to allow them to pay for books, tuition, and whatever else they needed. And that scholarship is actually still in play right now. It's called the Matthew Worthington Scholarship, which gives away X amount to a student every year. Well, at that same time, COVID had just blown through the United States, and the company I was working for that I started working for right after college ended up furloughing me, and I didn't know if I was going to get my job back. And it was a week before I got furloughed that I had given away that money to the university to give to a student in need. And 2 months go by, I still didn't get a call from my company. I was doing yard work. I was cleaning bathrooms at the pool in my neighborhood where my parents lived, and was doing moving jobs and cleaning, cleaning services and all sorts of stuff just to try to make money to get by during that time. I was looking back at that $6,000 I gave away, and it really, honestly, I had a pit in my stomach because I could have used that $6,000 right there. I didn't think ahead. I was like, oh, I'm good. I got a great job. I'm going to do fine and be able to make that $6,000 back up. Almost didn't have a penny to my name because I had given that money away. Well, I get a call from my boss after 3 months, my ex-boss, I guess, and he said, "Hey, Matt, you got your job back. Um, and I also have some good news for you." He said, "In the month that you were working for us before you got furloughed, you had closed a deal and gotten a commission check that we forgot to give to you." I said, "Well, that's amazing. How much is it?" He said it was $6,000.
Nice.
And it was
Love it.
just this full circle moment where I was like, wow, these things really do come back to you.
Hmm.
And I believe it's karmic. I believe it's the universe. I believe it's a law of the universe of if you give, it will come back in one way or another. Maybe not in the same monetary way that this example was. It might not come in the exact dollar amount, but in some way it'll come back and it'll have a benefit and a positive impact on your life. And I love that example, and I love looking back at that because it's been so true, man. The more I give, the happier I find myself. Maybe the more I give, it doesn't equate to the more money I make or the more opportunities that arise into my life, but the happier I am. And at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I think that's what's most important. Man's search for meaning. It's like you can be in the depths of, you can be in a concentration camp. I mean, that is what the book, the foundation of the book is they're in a concentration camp, but yet they still remain to have uh, a high level of enthusiasm and belief and kept their spirits high because they decided to just be there for one another and pour into one another and give selflessly. If they got one piece of bread, well, guess what? They give half of it to somebody else who needed it more.
Right.
And that is what life is all about. So
Yeah,
hopefully
man.
that answered your question.
Yeah, I love it. I love the context of the story and just how visceral this is for you, in that it really is a way of being. It's how you're living your life. It's not just, oh, I did this thing, I'm doing this thing. It's how I'm being in the world. And that's really powerful. And what you said also, what I forgot to mention before about getting brands to potentially, like sponsor this or however the language is around that. It's not like, okay, Mr. Beast is out there like blowing up Ferraris and stuff and making a gazillion dollars. It's like, what real benefit is that giving to the world? Yeah, maybe somebody wins $100,000 or whatever, but these little, I say little because they're significant, but these smaller acts of kindness, these smaller acts of giving that you're doing can have a massive ripple effect and make a massive impact, more than just like somebody having $100,000 rain down on the sky and a Ferrari got blown up and some brand gets a bump in their sales or whatever. So I want that for you. I'll put some energy behind that for you, because I think that what you're doing is, it's really um, coming from a place of integrity in what you're trying to do. And I'm grateful. I had many amazing mentors. I know you told me you're in Mexico right now. Hopefully I can reveal that, your
Yes.
location at the moment. But I actually lived in Mexico for about a year, and I worked for this man who had multiple businesses. This was back in the late 90s. And he had been up and down financially as an entrepreneur multiple times in his life. When I was working with him, he was probably 60, and he had been very, very wealthy and destitute, multiple times. And it seemed like everywhere we went, he was low key, giving in
Mm,
these small ways. I'll give you a couple of examples. One day we went randomly, we were invited to some art exhibition and in Chihuahua. So we went, and he met this girl there, and he just had a very good sense of people in general. And I'm just standing there like supposed to be translating for him. And my English or my Spanish was very rudimentary at the time, entry level, but I was acting as translator for him. And the girl starts speaking in Spanish, and I'm struggling to translate. And he looks at her and he says, "Why don't you just talk to me in English? I know you speak perfect English." And she said, "Well, actually, I do speak perfect English." She was very well educated. And he said, "What is your biggest dream? What's your epic mind vision?" He didn't use those words, but that's pretty much what he asked her. And she said, "Well, I really want to create this event and have these artists come and whatever she described, I can't remember the details, but he said, how much, what do you need to make that happen? She said, I really need like a couple $1,000 to be able to get the venue and do this and that and the other. And he said, okay. He stroked the check, handed her the check right there. And she was just literally in tears, you know?
Wow.
Another time we were walking down by the center square in Mexico City, and there was this old man, eyes, cloudy with cataracts, has his hat out, beggar, and he elbows me and he says, "Go get that guy. We're on our way to lunch. Go get that guy. We're taking him to lunch." I'm like, I mean, he's just been on the street, like super dirty, all that stuff, you know. So I go over, start talking to him, pull him up. We take him to lunch, have lunch with him. Everybody in the restaurant's like staring at us, like, "What are you doing with this guy?" You know. And on the way out, um, this mentor's name was Fritz. He paid for the guy to eat there for a week, and he made a big deal about it. So everybody heard, so that nobody could just take the money and whatever, somebody would hold them accountable, although who knows what actually happened. But, things like that. Go to a restaurant and there's somebody playing guitar very poorly, and, he leaves them like $20. People are leaving them like a few pesos.
Mm.
Um, went by somebody's house to see to catch up with them on the way from one city to the other or something like that, and it turns out that he was checking in on the two high school girls' grades, because if they made their grades, he's going to pay their way through college. Just that's those are the kinds of mentors that I had in my life. But
Wow.
I always projected this into, well, when I have abundance,
Yep.
then I can give, and this was 30 years ago or more than that,
Yeah.
and that's the way I always saw life, is that,
Mm.
I need to accumulate and be solid and, stable and have extra wealth and all this stuff for myself before I can give. What you're doing is you're hacking that mindset, and you're saying, no, it doesn't have to be that way. You give first. You
Mm.
give because the act of giving is important and it makes an impact. And then in return, you'll get what you get, you know? And I think it's just a very powerful way to flip the script on the way most of us are programmed, and me included, even though I saw it multiple times from multiple mentors in my life. I just never felt empowered enough to like be like you're doing. And that's why have so much respect, and you inspire me, because it's like we just get $50 and just go do the thing, like whatever, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, cool, I don't know. I thought I would share that because it's not something that we haven't seen, that example of not only being the change but paying things forward. It's just, I think for me, and probably for a lot of people out there in the world, they don't feel like the timing's right, or they don't feel empowered enough to do it. Where somebody like you're just like, I'm doing it now, the time is now. I think that's important.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And I think it's all relative, right? So the
Sure.
way that pain is relative, one person losing a sibling could be the same as somebody else stubbing their toe, which is,
Yeah.
I know, an extreme example, but it's the same with giving. One person giving $100,000 to somebody else can be the same as someone checking on someone maybe at an airport who's crying and asking them if they're okay. It's those moments that seem very simple that oftentimes aren't simple. And so just looking at someone and smiling at them, maybe a homeless person, for example, who gets mostly looks of disgust or looks of people blowing them off, or maybe even people yelling at them, telling them to, fuck off and go get a job. That smile can mean so much to them. It can make them remember that they're still human. And
Yeah.
so we don't have
100%.
to have $100,000 or a huge checkbook to pay off the rest of those two girls' student loans, right? Or if their grades are good, go pay for the rest of their tuition. Like we can do things now with the resources we have at the moment that can make a difference. So do it, right?
Yeah.
That's the message, is do it.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, it's been amazing having you on and kind of explore these different ideas and the actual actions that you're taking in real time. Is there anything that you would like to say that you haven't said, question you'd like to answer that I haven't asked?
I think you've hit all of them. The opportunity to be able to come on here and talk about my epic mind vision is one that makes me feel very honored and seen and appreciated and loved and understood those core fundamental things that I think all of us need as humans. You just provided me the opportunity to feel in an hour's time. So thank you, Jeff. And I look forward to seeing this grow. Episode 7, episode 8, whatever it is, whenever it's on episode 700, episode 800, and you are filling your cup and it's overflowing into the lives of the people that you surround yourself by and the ones that come on this podcast. Is going to make it all worthwhile. And I'm sure it already has been very worthwhile. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's amazing to come and talk to people like you, and it's kind of my own, community building aspect of like who are the people in my world that I love and respect and want to know more about. Well, I didn't know all
Mm.
these deeper stories about you, and this format gives me the opportunity to dive in and learn more. So where can the audience find you online? Because I know they're going to want to connect.
Find me on Instagram at Matt_Worthington, WORTHINGTON, YouTube and TikTok, also Matt Worthington. And if you want to keep up with Riser Network, it's at Riser Network, just the way it sounds, and or Reveal, which is at Reveal ATX as in Austin, Texas. Would love to connect. Would love to hear from you. Feel free to shoot me a DM. I'm always open to meeting incredible people. And if you're a friend of Jeff's or part of Jeff's community, then you're a friend of mine.
Outstanding. Well, I'll link all that up in the description to the podcast. And aside from that, is there a reveal event on the calendar? When is it? Where is it? Are we invited? Like,
Yes, everyone's invited. Jeff, especially you, you're invited. If you want to come to the August 14th networking event, which is actually in, let's see, 9 days. Yeah, just a week and 2 days from today, next Wednesday. It's going to be from 7 to 10 p.m. in Austin at VUCA, Bolden Creek. Would love to see you there. And Jeff, would love to get you back to a dinner. We have one next Tuesday. If you're around, I will send you details for that. And
let's
I just
go.
appreciate you having me on and look forward to seeing you again in person, my man, in person.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I look forward to that, Matt. Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure and a joy to have you on this podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. Go enjoy the beach, and I will see you at a Riser event soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jeff.